Hi, I'm Utkarsh Ambudkar. I'm a actor, musician, producer, writer, at all, and you are listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing.
My name is Abhay Dandekar, and I share conversations with talented and interesting individuals linked to the global Indian and South Asian community. It's informal and informative, adding insights to our evolving cultural expressions, where each person can proudly say, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." Hi, everyone. On this episode of Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing, we share a conversation with the versatile artist Utkarsh Ambudkar. Stay tuned. Once again, thank you so much for listening to this and sharing with your friends and family, for rating and reviewing it wherever you're listening, and for following Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing on all that social media. You know, sometimes you just have so much to share and so many ways by which you feel comfortable sharing that the totality of it simply is a reflection of your true self and your own authenticity. It's maybe like playing a chess match and getting to the point of having 12 different ways to make a checkmate, but the elegance and drama and pace and journey of that chess match and all it took to get to that point tells us a lot about the player. I personally find it exciting when people showcase versatility through talent, introspection, purpose, patience, and of course a lot of practice and hard work. Thankfully, I had a chance to catch up with the very talented Utkarsh Ambudkar, a South Asian American artist whose versatility itself embodies this excitement and a sustained relevance in many different genres. Utkarsh grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and started rapping and performing spoken word at a young age. His spoken word and freestyle performances have garnered praise, awards, and collaboration with Lin-Manuel Miranda and Freestyle Love Supreme, as well as his own underground hip-hop explorations and musical releases. His acting performances have equally blossomed through roles in Pitch Perfect, Tick Tick Boom, and Barbershop 3, among many other film credits. But as an Indian American, he's also landed roles in very unique and successful storytelling endeavors like The Mindy Project and Never Have I Ever. Utkarsh is currently co-leading in the comedy series Ghosts on CBS, and this week is set to release his musical comedy film World's Best on Disney+, which he co-wrote, co-produced, and stars in along with Manny Magnus and Poonam Patel. A story, of course, that places a South Asian family at the core of a Disney film and explores the possibility and joy of rap and hip-hop through a youthful and imaginative lens. We chatted about it all, and since he and his wife recently welcomed a new baby, we introduced each other to the conversation with some congratulations and some gratitude.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me, Doctor. It is wonderful to see what I could have become.
I'm not sure you want to look under the hood, but I appreciate that. It's all good.
You are what my parents always wanted me to be, so here we go.
Well, first off, congratulations to you and your wife on the new baby. Like I said, we appreciate the business, and it sounds like you guys are officially outnumbered. So hope you get to enjoy what that feels like. It goes by way fast. I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, so capture the moments now. Get your sleep in.
Yeah, thank you. Well, sleep is impossible. We're spending as much time with the kids as we can. It's my number one priority, and but also three is immediately too many. I think I need to even them out so they can fight amongst themselves.
There you
So
go.
I think we need to go for four so they can, create their own little mini society, and I can leave them to it.
Well, kudos on that, and sounds like there's more planning to be had. I was reflecting a little bit. My son and daughter and we all were watching season 4 of Never Have I Ever, and now, of course, the movie World's Best coming out. I'm just curious. It seems like there's an active renaissance, or really a lot of activity going on. How would you describe being sort of a South Asian creative artist and actor right now in 2023?
I think we have more people at the top. It's still a limited amount, but we have people at the top. Speaking like Mindy, hailing for me. I'll speak for my own experience.
Yeah.
Who are keen on sharing their sort of success with the rest of their community and giving other folks opportunities. And it's really special and really important. And you have filmmakers like her, Nisha Ganatra, Sujata Day.
Yeah.
You have you got a lot of people working independently right now. And also, I think the industry as a whole has really come under pressure to include as many different stories as they can, because they've realized through, big tentpole rom-coms like Crazy Rich Asians,
Yeah.
or small quirky sci-fi movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Never Have I Ever,
Yeah.
Sex Lives of College Girls. These things are, bona fide commercial successes.
Right.
These aren't like little niche markets. So I think they see there's value, and that our stories, South Asian and Asian stories as a whole, have monetary value and cultural value beyond beyond just who we are.
Would you say that there's a growing relevance? And by the way, with that, is there actually some responsibility that's attached to it?
Well, for me, there's always been responsibility. I sort of came up in spoken word scene and conscious rap and hip hop, and it's identity, hip hop theater, and theater, and even comedy, stand up. You're always, and in poetry, your job is to be a mirror to the world around you. Your job is to either, with humor, with poetry, with rhyme, with imagery, to show the world what it really is, in hopes that it can change itself. And so for me, it's always been a responsibility, partly because I grew up really longing for and needing role models that looked like me, as a first generation American, and they didn't exist. There were a few people musically. There was Karsh Kale, who is incredible DJ and composer, producer, but Ajay Naidu, who was in Office Space, I loved him so much. And Cal Penn came along. He's, we've worked together. He's, a little bit younger, but still somebody who I consider a hero.
Yeah. It sounds like there's those touch points, and seems like for you, the responsibility has kind of always been a part of what you do. By the way, do you miss some of those other genres or kind of arena, whether it's spoken word, whether it's theater, whether it's rap? And I know you integrate that a lot into some of the work, but unto itself, is there a different sort of vibe that you get from doing some of those things? And also where the penetrance of South Asian artists has maybe been different than what it's like in television or movies right now?
My experience was I was always the only one in the room. So anywhere I went, it was kind of like, oh, it's that one. But I do look, for anybody who's in the arts and, has achieved success, God bless you. And if you're still working, even more kudos to you to get there. But I will say whimsically that, like, when I had $5 in my pocket and was getting 2 slices of pizza on 42nd and 10th on my way to the open mic, or on the way to the rehearsal that I was getting paid $150 stipend for, I knew, physically, I'm only doing this because I love it. There's no other reason. It is purely for the passion and stupid desire to do this that I am engaging in such like self-harm. But it really, so I do miss maybe that aspect of it, how hungry I was. And now there's a different sort of hunger. There's this sort of spiritual growth. There's more space to tell stories. There's an excitement. But look, I was at the Tonys 2 nights ago with all my theater friends.
Great outfit, by the way.
Thank you. I was able to rap on Broadway with my buddies. I have a Broadway credit with a special Tony under my belt for that, and did the off-Broadway thing. And spoken word is something I'm still super close to, and infuses itself. You'll see in World's Best, in our Disney Plus movie, there's all of those elements come together in this film.
I have to tell you, Kirsch is a friend, and while he's the official Kirsch of this show, I would say you're the official Utkarsh of this show. So thank you for that.
Well, he's Utkarsha.
He is. Yes, he's Utkarsh Ambudkar. So,
bro, when I met him, I was like, oh my God, we have the same name and you do music. My mind was blown. I met him with Monica Dogra, when I was 16 or no, when I was 17 in Washington Square Park.
There you go.
And I was mind blown. And then I saw him again 20 years later. No, yeah, 20 years later, we saw each other at the White House
I know.
in October.
And what a special moment I'm sure that was. And I would say in that same vein, because I've asked him and others the same question before. When you think of yourself now and kind of like the rich arc of your career, do you feel like it's fair to be, rightly so or not, labeled as a South Asian artist or actor? Or are you just an artist and actor who happens to, be Indian or South Asian? How do you feel about that?
I think it's very strange, right? Because you spend so much time trying to break out of this box. Um, and then you're like, no, you can't put me here. I'm not the IT guy. I'm not the cab driver. I'm not the asexual best friend. I'm not a nerd. I mean, I am a huge nerd, but like, I don't want you to say I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
And then you break out of said box and they put you on a billboard and you sort of like become this sort of identity free character. And then I go, wait a minute. I went to India every summer. I was in Chennai, I was in Pune, like I understand Hindi, Tamil, and a little bit of mangled Marathi. Like we had dal chawal every night. We watched Bollywood movies. I'm Indian.
Yeah.
I'm Indian as fuck.
Yeah.
So like now it's one of those things where, you spend so much time cracking the code. Just honestly, this is so cliche, just to sort of get back to the center and to the roots.
Yeah.
And they are very warm, like all of my core joyful memories are Indian.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Utkarsh Ambudkar. Stay tuned. Conversation. It's the antidote to apathy and the catalyst for relationships. I'm Abhay Dandekar, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians, so everyone can say, trust me, I know what I'm doing. New episodes weekly, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Utkarsh Ambudkar, and my movie World's Best is coming to Disney Plus on June 23rd. Please check it out. And you are listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing.
Welcome back to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's rejoin our conversation now with Utkarsh Ambudkar. To some degree, sort of like I think about that when I also think about the touch points of your career, right? Either the Mindy Project or Never Have I Ever and now World's Best. These are all squarely Indian, South Asian American stories. And they're quite centered there. But are there equally important linear dots to connect when you think about Ghosts and when you think about Pitch Perfect and when you think about, the Broadway work and even rapping that kind of in some ways informs that South Asian or that Indian storytelling too?
Yeah, I mean, look, it starts with like being in the ciphers in the Lower East Side rapping and people being like, who's this guy? And you have to, in hip hop, if you're not presenting an authentic, true self, you don't exist there, right? It is very clear. And success in that world is not based on skill, although that's very important. It's not based on flow, which can be taught and learned. It's based on authenticity.
Yeah.
It is one of the few art forms where you are not allowed to lie.
Yeah. It's very naked, right? I mean,
yeah. And so I've always used the sort of otherness, the South Asian identity that I have, and embraced it as a form of celebration. It's what set me apart from the beginning of my artistry. So in rap, it was always there. Then when I joined Freestyle Love Supreme, they were like, hey man, you're like really good at talking about how cool you are, but you have a unique, first generation South Asian immigrant perspective that you can share that this group doesn't have.
Yeah.
You also have a vast knowledge of Marvel comics, which none of us do. Right. So why don't you take all of the things that make you special, that you might be afraid that aren't masculine or tough, and and bring that to this group. And, from that sort of ethos brought to me by Tommy Kail, who's produced this movie World's Best with me, and who I've been a long time collaborator with. I mean, I think I went from sort of mentee to collaborator.
Yeah.
It was more of a student teacher relationship, went to collaborator relationship. But I think it's always been there, it's very important. And, look, Mindy, and the through line is basically rap. Honestly, the through line is hip hop, which stems from being your authentic self, which happens to be a South Asian dude from Maryland who likes comic books, basketball, and
well, and even in the non-South Asian centered work, right? Whether that's Ghosts or Pitch Perfect too. I mean, you still are who you are. So the authenticity hopefully is still, emerging from the work that you're doing there. But I imagine that there's a fuel there too.
It's changing priorities too, right? Yeah. So look, the truth is rap got me where I'm at. Like rap got me an agent, rap got me into my bigger agency, beatboxing and rap got me into Pitch Perfect. Mindy saw that, was like, I want a rapping brother. She wrote the role of her rapping brother, gave it to me. TV break. I did a barbershop movie that was in the language of hip hop. And like most of my early credits are like some sort of, some of that rhythm is in it. And by the time Ghosts came around, I just was a new father of our son, Boomy. Our daughter, Tiare, was, I think, 5. The pandemic was happening and priorities shifted.
Sure.
And this really interesting, cute, intelligent premise sitcom came around.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to sort of be first up to bat on it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Have the option to do it, which is a huge growth for me to like be able to like get to that point where they're like, hey, you want to do this? And
that
it
works.
Just made sense.
Yeah. I wonder, now with World's Best releasing, how much of that was in some ways either autobiographical for you? Was there some sort of catharsis when you went through the process of doing this, especially now seeing the product as it's coming out?
Yeah, it's 100% wish fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
It's providing hopefully today's South Asian youth and youth in general with a dynamic talent in Manny Magnus, who plays our lead, Prem Patel, to be their role model. Like, I wanted to give kids their own little Michael Jordan. Like for me, it was Benny the Jet Rodriguez from The Sandlot. It was, Rocky, Tum Tum, and Colt from Three Ninjas. Like they were turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wanted them to be able to see Manny, who does everything so well. It's jaw dropping what this kid is capable of.
Sure.
And he's only just scratched the surface in this movie, which is his first starring role. I mean, I'm so excited for him.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Maitri from Never Have I Ever. Just hardworking, ease, natural gift for conversation and understanding of emotion. But yeah, it's wish fulfillment. I wanted to give 8-year-old me their hero, which is Manny Magnus.
When you think about 8-year-old you and Manny and the other folks that went into this pretty amazing story and the storytelling part of it, in our community, both in the US and globally, it's pretty pan-generational. So in the same way that you're giving a new Michael Jordan to the South Asian youth, what are you giving to the folks in other generations, parents, grandparents, when they watch something like this?
Well, the hope is that we can look at our children in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Fear has driven most of our parenting. We come from scarcity.
Yeah.
We don't want our children to be hurt. We want them to choose a softer, safer path.
Right.
And if they have an aptitude for pediatrics, God bless them. Or engineering
or not, by the way, right.
It's the thing that you feed, and you nurture is passion.
Yeah.
And that when a child takes interest in something, listen, and it's our job as parents to work through our fear so that they don't have any. That's what it is. We like, and so it's a daily practice for me with
Sure.
my children,
Sure.
but it's deeply important to me as a parent to sort of share Poonam Patel's performance,
Yeah.
who was the only choice for this role
Yeah.
as the mother. She's just so damn funny, so good. And I wanted mama bears out there. My wife was a single mother when we met,
Yeah.
and it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and not easy to be a kid,
Yeah.
and it's way harder to be a parent, whether you believe it or not.
Let me ask you something about that. In thinking about both weaving in your own experience and thinking about it from a parent standpoint, or allowing in some ways kind of licensure for kids and for stories to blossom like that, what you have to unlearn perhaps in getting this movie made, making this movie. Was there anything also kind of surprising that you learned about yourself?
Yeah, I think I had to remember what the spirit of joy that brought me to the theater.
Yeah.
And that kept me in the theater. And after many years of being told no and fighting, you don't realize it, but you do develop a sort of hard candy shell, as
Yeah.
it were.
Yeah.
And you get not jaded, but you become aggressive in a way where the script and the truth is it was a little sad at first.
Sure.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it was a little bit not bitter, but it was sad. There was a cloud over the movie. It was still beautiful, but it was not a Disney movie.
Yeah.
And what I had to unlearn was that experience, right? I had to let it go.
Yeah.
And to give, this is wish fulfillment. And in a Disney movie, we're going for joy, lightness of being. Like, I learned how to make a Disney movie, and now I'm part of the Disney family, and it is a joy to bring like the first South Asian nuclear family to a Disney screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I basically had to unlearn my own trauma just so I could and remember why we do this. What makes it beautiful?
Was that in the beginning a relative challenge? And I mean, does it now kind of embolden you to either take more risk or give you sort of a little bit different window into making sure that the joyful part of any work that you do is baked in?
I think it's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
And I have to get back to it on every job. I think part of you, because you see what people like, you're like, oh, it's got to be deep and sad and on HBO and A24. Part of the artist in me that wants to fit in is like, make it serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who I truly am is not a clown, but somebody who sees the world just a little bit, askew.
Maybe more on the optimistic side, but
I just look at it with a little bit more color and light. And so a lightness of being is always there if I listen to the quiet voice that tells me what to do. That's usually the right one.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Utkarsh Ambudkar. Stay tuned. Every story told is a lesson learned, and every lesson learned is a story waiting to be told. I'm Abhay Dandekar, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians so everyone can say, trust me, I know what I'm doing. New episodes weekly, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Richa Morjani, and you're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing with Abhay Dandekar.
Hey there, I'm Abhay Dandekar, and welcome back to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's now rejoin our conversation with artist Utkarsh Ambudkar. Let me think about it this way. In that same spirit of the artist in you looking to see what should be done, and also remembering and reminding yourself and baking in that thread of lightness and joy and the skew that you talk about, how have you been able to in some ways balance this notion of patience and urgency, especially when you're constantly cultivating a brand, a career, and weighing that responsibility that you mentioned earlier?
you just stay open. You try and be clear. Ask, you call it God, call it whatever you want, but I always try and just offer myself to any and all new ideas. I ask for patience. I ask to be, not in myself.
Yeah.
How can I approach every sort of question from not a place of do you understand me, but do I understand you?
Sure.
And then these sort of like general life tools open up the space, they clear the clutter so that real art and inspiration can come in. And it's always there. It's just a matter of like, getting the grocery list done and making the bed and brushing your teeth and,
Yeah.
doing all the stupid administrative stuff in my life so that there's real space.
Sure.
Also, having kids is awesome.
Yeah.
Because my 3-year-old boy, my 8-year-old girl, like, I'm a kid with them. And when I see the world in their eyes, I'm amazed and I wake up all over again. I just love being around them.
I want to ask you that because does parenting in some ways change your lens on how you define success? Like what that either means to you or how you measure it?
Yeah, we're a success already. We're doing great.
Yeah.
We're good. If I get caught up in, we call it compare and despair.
Yeah.
I look at, I was just at the Tonys and I'm sitting with Lynn and Tommy Kail and Bill Sherman, and I don't know how many Emmys, Grammys, Tonys,
Sure.
and Oscar nominations they have among them.
Yeah.
But to be clear, I don't have any.
Right. It's like the combined you and Michael Jordan scored 60 tonight, and Michael Jordan had 60, right?
Right. And I played 1 minute.
Right.
I got a ring.
You got the ring. Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is we don't talk about that. We talk about how the kids are doing, like what the parenting is, like the fun stuff the children are doing, how we're being tickled and amazed by our families. And that to me, my wife and I, and the love that we've given them and continue to give them, look, some people aren't made for parenting. For me, it's everything. Me. It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've spoken about this, recently as well, but how much does sobriety serve as kind of a vehicle for that clarity, that prioritization, and particularly that outlook to prevent the compare and despair?
I was not able to love myself.
Yeah.
I acted in ways trying to fill up something that I couldn't fill.
Yeah.
And then I met a group of people. I asked them for help. And through, sticking close and listening to some gentle suggestions over time, they've taught me to love myself. And it is a daily practice. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it because I'm like on the brink of having a drink, or oh God, I'm gonna crumble. I do it because it's deeply rewarding, and because I like the version of myself that is in the middle of this group of amazing people, and they know who they are. I'd say it's the bedrock of everything. Yeah, it's like, look, if I'm being simple, like it's comes first.
Yeah.
And everything else comes after. And everything that comes after is a direct result of the fact that the house is clean and the mind is clear and the heart is open.
In thinking of that, almost like clarity, and it's the first way to sort of like unblock and allow for the rest of the barriers in your day, not just the day-to-day, but just even the year-to-year, the outlook to be like that. I also think about how introspective and thoughtful, I mean, even in just briefly meeting you right now, you are.
Well, I'm talking to a doctor, bro. I'm trying to bring my A game.
Hey, you know what? Your A game and my B game will be I think, exactly what this
I'm auditioning to play you in the biopic, okay?
Hey, man, I'm humbled just by that. But in truth, I think about that same ethos that you just talked about when it comes to versatility, right? You all these different things that you mentioned, the rap game, the writing, the acting, producing, theater, spoken word, film, television, right? These are all explorations. And it sounds like that comes from a deep amount of self-discovery that you've already had. When it comes to purely the business, does versatility ever become a border itself or a barrier to perfecting the craft?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yes.
And does, by the way, is that a struggle that you almost have to have? I mean, it's like, look, you can't stop who you are and the gifts that you have, and yet they become sludge when it comes to trying to perfect a particular craft.
At the beginning, yes. But the thing is I have to understand what brings me joy, and what brings me joy is cooking a lot of pies at once. I like knowing that I like it. And so then the responsibility becomes finishing the pie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like
right.
Nobody's going to eat a bunch of uncooked pies, man. You got to, like, even if they're done at different times, like you got to get the work done. So what I tell myself, my friends, anyone who asks for any kind of advice, it's always just finish what you start. So, I have an album that's complete. I'm animating that. That's near completion. I'm working on a new album that's 30% done. We have scripts in the process, WGA strong.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all pay us what we're worth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you paid.
That's right.
Just like I got the goal.
Yeah.
We have ghosts, and we have our family, and we have, recitals and camps to go to. Like, point is, it's only a barrier if you don't finish the things that your ideas.
Right.
If I'm finishing them, then where's the boundaries?
Does that help you to endure? Does that build in a kind of endurance in the arts that says, like, hey, look, it's a serial process. You finish what you start, and all the things that in your head then can make it out there. And that's in some ways kind of a great accelerator for enduring in this business.
Yeah, yes, maybe. And I might be blessed that for me, it's a necessity.
Yeah.
I just have to. I mean, why shouldn't I? There's so much in my freaking head. It can't stay up there forever. I got to get it somewhere.
Right.
And if it ends up on a screen or on a track or on paper,
so be it.
It just means my mind is a little less cluttered. So if that means you get entertained, then look, we both win.
There you go. Right. Let me get you out of here on this, in the spirit of finding the Michael Jordan for today's youth and thinking about yourself now, but also thinking a little bit about the future, and kind of in that same spirit of World's Best and kind of the fantasy aspect of it, and even Ghosts itself. I'm going to imagine that you today find yourself in a room with your 20-year-old self and your future 60-year-old self. What do you hope the takeaways would be from that conversation that happens?
60-year-old self is easy. I just be like, how are the kids?
Yeah.
It's just that simple. 20-year-old self, I'd be like, you might not want to smoke that weed. You might
maybe put that one down.
Yeah, 20-year-old self is like, hey man, it's going to take another 10 years, but maybe you want to try now.
Yeah.
Because, there's a what if there, that if I had sort of cleared the instrument long ago, I mean, I wouldn't have had so many incredible experiences, by the way. Like, it wasn't all bad.
Right.
I had a lovely, wonderful life doing crazy stuff before it stopped working.
Yeah.
I think I would, I don't think I'd tell 20-year-old me to maybe just like show up on time and be nicer to your parents.
What do you think 20-year-old self and 60-year-old self would be telling you now?
20-year-old self would be like, it's going to take that long.
Right.
20-year-old self was like, I've been telling people I was going to blow up in 6 months.
Right.
What do you mean? And I'm gonna be like, well, guy, when you don't show up to auditions, it's kind of hard to blow up. And 60-year-old self, I don't know. I hope 60-year-old self tells me, like, I don't even want to tell you what's coming because it's so beautiful. I just want to see you experience it in real time. I cannot wait for you to see what's coming.
Well, that kind of optimism, and particularly seeing what's out there, what's beautiful, definitely part of World's Best right now. I'm confident that people who are out there appreciating your work for the first time, for the second time, for the many times, are saying the same thing. That we're glad that Utkarsh is part of this. Utkarsh, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a treat. I hope we can do this again down the road.
Yeah, me too. And can I say something to the listeners?
Please.
Guys, get your regular checkups, okay? Get your knee knocked, get your blood work done. We Indians, I'm sure a lot of you guys are Indians listening. We got blood pressure stuff. We got cholesterol stuff. We got to take care of ourselves, okay? Also, not just about physical health, mental health. I know it's a hot button issue. It's pretty helpful to go talk to somebody, especially if you're like a dad, an Indian dad.
Yes.
Who you sitting on those emotions for a long time. Do it in secret. It'll change your life. Trust me. Have a good cry, and then you call your son and go, "I'm sorry," and it's all good. Also, start saying "I love you." If you're not saying "I love you," start telling your kids you love them.
Hey man, all the public service announcements, we love it. We love it. And for sure, great reminders for anyone, South Asian or not. So, Utkarsh, seriously, man, this was a treat. We really appreciate it and wish you nothing but the best.
All the best. Thank you. It's an honor to be talking to you. And World's Best, June 23rd on Disney+. God bless you all.
And yes, please check out World's Best on Disney+. Happy summer solstice to everyone above the equator, and do your best, please, to practice kindness to each other and particularly to the earth we inhabit. If you're enjoying this, then again, any kind rating or review is appreciated, and thanks so much for sharing and following Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing on social media. Till next time, I'm Abhay.